If a woman has no money, 99% of men will support her. If a man has no money, 99% of women will overlook him. And that's just the reality of life. Men fall in love with what they see. Women fall in love with what men say, which is why women will always wear makeup and simps will always lie.
I'm sorry, I with a nigga, like, it's crazy because I like a nigga that's not on my level, but it's like, damn, like, that mean I ain't gonna get no trips. I ain't gonna get no J. I ain't gonna get no desire. I ain't gonna get shit but love and some good words. Like, I ain't trying to hear that. I do be trying to hear that sometimes, but it's like, damn, like, that's all I'm gonna get. It's like, now at this point, you gotta pick between the luck, the manyan, or you gotta pick between the words, the good nothings.
Welcome back to the channel. You see the information on the screen, so you already know what I'm about. So let's get into it. So yes, I have been away for quite a while, and I do think that this is a really great video to get me back into, everything that's been going on, and actually to give you all a little bit of an update to what's been going on. So I'll start with the fact that last night we actually had Thursday talk. So this is early Friday morning. I was very inspired to get up and make this particular video. One of the organizers of Christian Singles Connect here in Atlanta, and we also have young adult Christian singles, and you'll see this information up on the screen. One of them, Coach Bliss, had this question, and we actually talked about it last night on Thursday Talks, which was basically, does six figures, i.e. $100,000 or more, does that hurt you in dating? And we had a pretty good conversation about it. I found that the people didn't get quite worked up about it, I think, as, some people might have thought. But what's really interesting about it is to me, it's always, the perception and the perspective, I should say, of men when it comes to money. See, when you look at the non-negotiables, money is right there. It's under the whole concept of being a provider. And it's one of the thorns that a lot of men feel that is in their back, right? So this thorn and the issues that go along with it is that a lot of men feel pressure in order to become a provider. And I really get it because, I talk a lot about the three different personalities, right? The instinct type, the thinking type, and the heart type. And these three types exist in men as well, okay? They don't just exist in women. See, we, from a society perspective, we want to believe that all men are instinct types. And these are the type that go out, they get things done. And a lot of women, they kind of put pressure on men that don't line up with the instinct driven energy, right? And honestly, it's really not fair, to men, to be quite honest with you. Because again, not a lot of men are that way. And let's be real, a lot of women will complain if a man has too much instinct energy. Now, this particular video is about money, evidently. And like I said, it's also a recap of some of the things that I've been going through, for the last couple of months and the reason why I've not been around. But I want to get directly into it. So, does money matter? Yes, it matters. Okay, money is actually one of the things that's talked about the most in the Bible. In fact, I think somebody, several people have actually done the calculations on it. And I want to say it's like one of the top three things that Jesus actually talked about was money. Now, a lot of times it's about, where your money is, the energy you're putting behind your money, and what is your money for. Okay, and I want to make sure I talked about that. But at the same time, money is very important. And one of the biggest problems, especially when it comes to a lot of men, is that they've not been taught, okay? And I'm not blaming any of the men that are watching this particular video. What I'm saying is you weren't taught how to make money, right? In fact, most of our problems really goes back to teaching. It goes back to what our parents taught us at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all the way up to about 15 to 16 years old, because those are like golden years, from 8 to 15, where that's really rounding out the child. By the time a child is 15, they tend to lean more towards their friends than they do to parents, or maybe an outside relative, or, a mentor that they respect. But when they're younger, they don't really do that. They still lean in on their parents. And see, if the parents didn't understand how to make money, okay, how in the world are they supposed to teach the child? It's the same thing, like I said, with me. I, for a long period of time, again, society tried to teach me that men and women are equal, that a woman has my back, that she is going to be there financially for me, and that, we're going to be these quote unquote partners as we go through life. But as I have actually gone through my divorce and have actually been out here dating, what I really recognize is that even when women, many of the women that I run into, have said that, hey, they're down for this, that, and the third, they really still lean towards a traditional marriage where the man is making most of the money. And that puts them in a certain situation as well, which I'm not going to get into in this particular video. But it puts men in that place where it's like, if you ain't got no money, a lot of women become very frustrated with you. All right. And I know that is what a lot of men feel. Right. And so one of the things that I had wanted to talk about was this concept of a man going out and getting more. And again, I've talked about it here and there, but I don't think I've ever made a video talking about it directly. And since, like I said, we're talking about that last night, I wanted to bring that forward. So here's what I'm saying. Every single man out there that's following me, that's watching this particular video, you have the ability to change your life. The problem is most of you don't believe you can do it. And this starts with what you want out of life and what you're willing to give up, i.e., how hard you're willing to work in order to achieve it. And when we look at that energy, we call that energy ambition. All right? And even when you start to look at a lot of millionaires, for a lot of guys, and I want you to really hone in on what I'm about to say, a lot of these millionaires, playboy type energy guys that you see, one of the main things that they talk about is they tell you, do not chase women. Do not chase them. Instead, after God, chase your ambition, chase your dreams, chase the money, because the money will follow the dreams. And sometimes they're one and the same. If you get those things, you're doing life God's way. You're walking in that energy of Jesus. And then on top of that, you're walking with that ambition and that money. The women will chase you. That is literally how that works. All you have to do is just get in front of some. And it's not so much that you're flashing money, because we talked a little bit about that last night as well. You don't need to flash money. It's going to be your energy that goes before you. When I first got divorced, what I found was really interesting was that a lot of women that I would have thought were out of my ability to talk to were very interested in talking to me. Now, back then, I had pretty much less money, than I have now. And I was coming out of the divorce, so I had a lot of bills to pay. But I found that a lot of women were very attracted to me. And what I found very quickly was what they were really attracted to was my ambition. They could feel it on me. They could sense it. And when I would talk to them, many of them would say that they've always been attracted to ambitious guys, and that many of their boyfriends/husbands in the past were ambitious. Right? Okay, so I did want to put that out there. So again, for the women that are watching this particular video, if you are, I always said this, it's always who you're picking. There are men out there that are ambitious, that are doing X, Y, Z, but it's about, are you attracted to those men? But again, that's an aside. Let's get to the point. For the guys, you can change the way you look at ambition, right? And this is really, the equivalent of what I want to say about ambition. Do you have a desire within you so strong that you're willing, to go through hardship in order to get it? For example, What if I told you, for whatever city you're living in, okay, that if you walked across the country, from wherever you are, I mean, if you're north, you can walk south. If you're east, you can walk west. Okay, wherever you are, shoot, not even across the country, we'll just say 100 miles. And for every mile beyond the first 50 miles, as you're heading towards 100, there'll be somebody out there that'll be willing to give you $10,000. But the difference is you have to do this back to back. You can wait 15 minutes to take a break, but beyond that, you have to push it through. And the average person walks between 2 to 3 miles per hour. So that will take you a very long time. To walk 100 miles would take you well over a day to actually walk, that far. So that means you're going to be tired. Your body's going to be aching. You're going to, be hungry. You're going to be sleepy. Would you be willing to do that in order to make money or to even open up a door? Maybe it's not about money. Maybe it's just about opening up a door, okay, for some of your dreams to come true. And see, again, that is ambition. See, right now, just like I said, I am up early in the morning before my 9 to 5. Okay, I am working to put this video out. And the reason why, like I said, I have not been putting these videos out is because I have been working on my own side projects to actually build up a business. And I literally get up in the morning because of the time crunch and different things like that in my 9 to 5. I'm up most days, honestly, by 3 a.m. All right. And so I'm working from 3 a.m. to 8 a.m., about 5 hours working on my projects. And I'm all I'm all full of energy drinks and different things like that in order to keep me going. Okay. But I'm pushing it that hard, researching, studying, doing all these things. But again, are you willing to do it? And when I talk about this stuff, I'm always telling men, especially, stop trying to do it with your hands, with your labor. See, I am working to get this right, to understand concepts that will bring me more money. I believe it was Warren Buffett that said, okay, the only way you're ever going to be rich, have real money, is if you make money while you sleep. All right, end quote. Okay, so you cannot, with your own physical strength, work hard enough to make millions of dollars. It just doesn't work that way. What you have to do is be strategic. Okay, so for instance, again, to bring this home to you all, many of you have gone through things like gentrification. You understand what that means. That is basically rich people coming into poor areas, buying up the land or using tax incentives or whatever it is. And when I'm saying tax incentives here, I'm saying it from both ways. They're getting benefits by the state, but also they're recognizing that a lot of people will end up in foreclosed homes because they can't pay the taxes of where they're at. All right. So they come into those environments. They either buy up the house, fix it up and rent it out, buy up the house, fix it up and sell it or something like that. But you have to understand when they do this, if they just renovate these houses and then move on, they could be making $20,000 per house. And most of the people that do this, okay, they're not out there, okay, working on that house themselves. Instead, they found a crew, okay, of people, generally 3 to 5 people that know how to work on homes. And so they'll buy the house, use their credit, buy the house. Then they basically put their crew to work. The crew is working round the clock, maybe for about a month. They'll pay the crew $10,000 or whatever it is. Then they mark up the house and then they sell it and then they'll make $20,000. So what did this person do? This person identified something. And I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of these loans that they're getting to do this don't cost them anything. They're not coming out of their own pocket. Okay, there's loopholes. This is why I'm always trying to tell you all. There's loopholes to all this stuff. Okay, and so what they've done is they've used one of these loopholes. They've got this money. They've done this with this house, but they've researched on how to do it. That is what they spent time doing. Just like I am researching, I'm studying, I'm trying to understand. right? And then I'll do case studies and I might take a class or whatever it is, right? So I'm doing this just like they're doing this, okay? And then they put the crew to work. They go in, they sit down, they sign a little bit of paperwork, and then they leave out with a check for $20, $30, $40, $50,000 for pretty much very little work at all. They might have spent literally from the beginning to the end, maybe 1 to 2 weeks worth of their own personal time to walk away with $50,000 in their pocket. So what they're doing in 2 weeks, it's taking you a year to make that same money. And then when they are talking to women, they're not complaining about what this woman wants or needs and how much money she desires. Now, many of you might be saying, well, Jay, I can't do that. Okay, that's too big for me. I don't have the money for that. I don't have the resources for that, whatever it is. And I'm always telling you, you've got to take the limitations off your mind. Because, see, you're doing that to yourself. You're doing that. I actually watched a documentary a long time ago and about this guy. I think he was a black guy, too. He was born without legs and arms. In fact, he had little nubs, I think, that stopped about right here. Okay? And that was it. That's all he had. And this guy was making money. Okay? He was making real money. Okay? He actually, toured. He talked about all these different types of things. And so here's a guy that literally was born, quote unquote, with nothing. And yet he made himself into something. But you have everything. You have a brain. You have a body that can move. You're able to think clearly. Okay, this is one of the main reasons why I tell people, honestly, I encourage people, stay away from drugs and stuff. Because, see, the people of power, they want you on drugs. The people of power, they want you eating badly. Because, see, what a lot of you don't understand is God has already set up walls. I'm just going to be real with you. God has already set up walls. Okay? And the reason why these are set up is to challenge you. Because the human spirit wants to be challenged. It does not appreciate anything that it had no challenge in getting. That's why a lot of women want you chasing them. Okay? Because they feel like, you as a man will appreciate the woman more if she is a challenge. All right? So in this challenge, that's how that works. But see, humans are so afraid of people's ambition that they will set up walls as well. Okay? Which, again, I could talk about that and go deep into that, but I don't want to go too deep into and make this video too long. But the point I'm trying to make is that's why you're running into boundaries. But you have to think about it from this perspective. Once you're across those boundaries, once you understand how to get to the other side, it's going to be like 99% of the people are not trying to follow. God sent you to this channel for a reason. Okay? And so through that, you should be thinking, okay, well, if God is here and Jay is constantly telling me about all these things, especially about money and how I can make my life better, then you have to ask yourself, okay, why aren't you listening? Just like I have spent the last couple of months, like I said, you can literally look at my video log history and you'll see this huge gap in time, right? If I've gone through that, if he sent you through that, then you should know, okay, this is how this works, right? Now, as I say this, I did want to give you, like I said, a little bit of, something about me, because I want this video to be something I can point back to in the future. But it's like I said, right now I'm working on some stuff. I'm not going to go into detail about it, but, I've been hustling, grinding, but not necessarily grinding to make today's money. I'm grinding to make tomorrow's money. And that's why I talk about, you got to think and use this, okay, instead of trying to use your hands, right? I want you guys to hustle with your mind, not hustle with your body, right? And see, we'll see whether or not, this turns into something. I'll try to give you guys some updates, maybe every 3 months or so, in order for you all to kind of understand, kind of what's going on. Because it's like I told you, you can sit there and you can listen to me and you can watch this video and you can be like, man, that don't mean nothing, blah, 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 blah. But what's going to happen in, let's say this time next year, and I'm sitting pretty, I'm making plenty of money, my life is great. What you're going to say is, oh, it was easy for him. He had it easy, blah, 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 because that's how people think. They think they see the finished product, but they don't see you going through the muck. And so now they say, oh, it was easy for him, blah, blah, blah. But I'm here to encourage you and tell you I've been going through the muck actually for a little over a year. Okay, but the last 6 months have been real tough. Okay, just being real with you. But again, look, I want you to get this. I want you to understand this. That, again, I'm going through the muck. So if I come out on the other side and I'm coming out as a winner, okay, you can do it too. But if you constantly make excuses, and that's what I hear a lot of times from a lot of men when it comes to money. You guys don't like it when women make excuses about their beauty. Okay, but you all make excuses about your money. Like, I'm just going to say this and I'm going to be done with this particular video. If you look at stocks, okay, just stocks in general, and I'll be honest with you, stocks confuse the crap out of me. They do. But stocks in real estate, more millionaires are made from those two things than anything else. And there are classes that are free, and actually people out here on the internet that will teach you both of them. Okay, so what is your excuse? It might take you, I don't know, a couple of months of watching videos, an hour of a video every day in order to do it or in order to figure it out. But the bottom line is, if you don't do it and you don't figure it out, that's on you. See, these things don't take a lot of time. You could be a teacher and own some real estate. You could be a janitor and be invested in stocks. I had a really good friend, he actually just worked, I worked in a manufacturing company and, at that particular time, and he just worked on the manufacturing floor. I mean, he probably wasn't making no more than $60,000 a year, but he would take his pennies and actually, put them in some penny stocks because he had a friend, that was, worked in that, arena, and his friend would just give him tips, and he would take that information, do the investment, and boom, 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 he was pulling in like $1,000 extra a month just by doing that. And he would do it right there at his job. I mean, I watched him do it a couple of times. I'm sitting there talking to him. He's on his phone and he's, buying, selling stocks. So anybody can do this stuff. Okay, you can't make the excuse that you can't do it because your phone can do it no matter what job. I mean, you could be working at McDonald's. Everybody got 5 minutes where they can log in, get something, and get out. So I'm just trying to say that, yes, money is always going to matter, especially for women. But what I'm hoping is that a lot of men will really understand that making money is not that difficult, okay, if you put your mind to it and actually work toward it, all right? And again, I don't think you have to have some kind of super degree. All you have to have is enough ambition, okay, to put yourself in the right places in order for you to win. Anyway, remember, every other Thursday, we do Thursday Talks. We will not be doing it September 4th, but we will be doing it that following week, which I guess is the 17th. All right, so please like and subscribe. I will see you all in the very next video.